I believe they put a lot of pressure on us to detain her, and it was completely inappropriate. In the long term, it's unfortunate it's taken 3 years, but now it has come to a conclusion that could have frankly happened 3 years ago.
Countries around the world know the U.S. is a political ally, but the U.S. is also an economic competitor. And if there is money on the table, the Americans will run you over in a New York second.
We've said from day one when Miss Meng Wanzhou was detained that it was, in our view, it was a mistake. And there are many, many Canadians who feel the same way. As you will recall, she was detained in December of 2018 at the request of the Trump administration, in particular, using an extradition treaty that many questioned if that was appropriate. And as you also may recall, the Americans went to several other countries and made the request for them to detain Ms. Meng, and they refused. Unfortunately for Canada, we were in the middle of a trade negotiation with the United States, and I believe they put a lot of pressure on us to detain her, and it was completely inappropriate. In the long term, it's unfortunate it's taken 3 years, but now it has come to a conclusion that could have frankly happened 3 years ago.
So how will Canada, be able to measure and balance and using what is now an opportunity rather than misuse it going to the wrong direction?
If you go back to the 1950s, the Americans declared a grain embargo against China during China's greatest famine. Canada refused to go along with the U.S. embargo. We suffered. The Americans came after us for that. But we were competing with the Americans globally for grain sales and food sales, and the Americans were competing unfairly against us. So this is a long-running theme. And most recently, the Americans during the NAFTA negotiation told us not to think about talking to China with trade. Meanwhile, the Americans went behind our back and signed their own agreement with China that really did great damage to Canadian farmers. So countries around the world know the U.S. is a political ally, but the U.S. is also an economic competitor. And if there is money on the table, the Americans will run you over in a New York second.
The American Marines moved out of Afghanistan to go to Iraq. We sent a battalion into Afghanistan because of the 9/11 attacks did affect Canada. We lost Canadians in those buildings. But the fact is that less than 6 months later, to penalize us because they were upset about us not participating in Iraq, they banned our beef. They found one mad cow up in Alberta, and the next thing you know, we had a massive beef crisis in this country. So economics, trade, these are all real politics. We're going to have disputes with the Americans. We've had them in the past, as Carlo said.